pretty cool. Having fun. It's a fairly warm day here down in North Carolina, so having a good time riding around. What do you think, Katie?
I think I love this car.
It's pretty sweet. It's pretty cool.
It's very sweet.
He's had it for probably, what, 8 or 10 years, honestly?
No, it's more like 15, probably. It's been a long time.
He got it, you know, and the body was like really rusted out and stuff. And it was a complete rehaul, and that was kind of his project for a long time. Pretty fun though. What kind of engine is this got?
Oh, it's probably 350, I guess. I guess it's probably just a Chevrolet 350 engine. It's a pretty good car. I mean, it really doesn't matter that it doesn't have a bored out engine or a big block or anything like that in it. This car will move, and it drives good. Drives so much different. I drive an SUV, so this is really low to the ground, and it kind of scoots all over the road. It's got a real thin steering wheel though, and I love that. It's a pretty sweet car, I have to tell you that. And I have to say I must be loved and trusted to drive it.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I haven't rode in this car in a long time, so this is a cool treat for a Saturday afternoon.
It is. I've been riding in this car we both have for years, but I've been driving this car for quite some time now. Only very recently did he install power steering and power brakes, so the first time I ever drove it several years ago was a very short trip. It was about a 200-yard trip and back, and I had to drive with both feet because I needed both feet. And this is not a straight drive. This is an automatic. It's not a
Yeah, it's just regular.
but I needed it because I had to stand on both feet to make it stop. It was a scary situation. You know, once you put power steering and power brakes, it drives like a new car on the road.
It's really cool, you know, because you don't think about the old seat belts.
Light belts or chest belts that come across. I know, it's kind of crazy.
See those pretty mountains? This is one of my favorite views around here.
It is a beautiful day and it's good weather because this car gets really hot really fast. I don't think there's any air conditioning in it, and there's just so incredible amount of compression in this engine, and it just gets hot really, really fast. So, looking for a Joyride.
What are we doing?
We are going to go through the parking lot because I can't think of anything better to do than to go through the parking lot.
Alright, spin us around.
About too scared to spin too fast. Wee-hee! Right, that's about as fast as
It's about as crazy as we can
about
go.
as crazy as I'm willing to get. About 30 miles an hour. I'm not really willing to do anything else in this car.
Definitely don't want to tear up this car.
Nope.
Only thing missing is some
REO Speedwagon.
REO Speedwagon, some kind of rock music. This thing, though, as you might imagine, does not have a CD player. Although it does have an MP3 hookup, which is pretty cool.
He's smiling. He knew he was going for a Joyride. Can't see because he pulled up.
There was actually, there was a police officer.
The parking lot donuts. No, there was no donuts.
They weren't too crazy. So that police officer passed us, and a few minutes ago, he was sitting up here by the bridge, and someone went past, and they flashed their lights at us, and we just like the car. It was because the police was there.
Yeah, but I was
So,
not speeding. I was
no.
only going to, I think I was going about 50, and that is a 50-mile-an-hour zone. I mean, I'm not going to say that I haven't been known to absolutely speed, because I definitely have, but I'm very gentle and very careful, and I like to baby this car. I feel cool. Yeah, I feel really cool.
We feel cool.
I do feel very cool. The thing about it is these muscle cars are a thing of the past. It's getting harder and harder to find full bodies or original bodies in good enough shape that you can do a restoration on. And we're really lucky that this car is even, that he has this car, that we can even say we know somebody with a car like this. I have no idea why in the world they don't make cars like this today, why they don't roll them off the line like this. It'd be a hell of a lot easier, and they would be a million times better quality. So
We gotta talk dream cars at some point.
well, this is my dream.
Yeah, this kind of, right?
I'm just gonna go ahead and tell you, if somebody was to give me a Mustang, or I could have a Mustang pretty easily, I definitely wouldn't say no. I would never say no. Of course I wouldn't, but I am a Camaro person. As far as Camaros and Mustangs, I'm a Chevrolet Camaro kind of person. I like the body style. Other things I like about the car.
I usually prefer the Chevy body style over the Ford, but now if someone was gonna hand me a classic car, I wouldn't be
Mustang,
picky.
I don't get me wrong, Mustangs are cool too.
But I also really like the GTOs, like a 68, 69 GTO. I think that might be what I would have. I'll be honest though, yeah, of course, but I would also wouldn't mind to have, and this would sound pretty silly comparing this to a classic car like this, but I wouldn't mind having like a 80s, not 80s though, I guess maybe late 60s, early 70s Ford or Chevy truck that was pretty nice, you know. I wouldn't mind that.
I would probably, if it wasn't a car, the next thing in line would be, and I might have the truck be first. I'd probably have about an 85, 87 Chevy Silverado.
Yeah.
Long wheelbase,
Yeah.
four-wheel drive. And then that would be a vehicle, no matter what happened to that vehicle, you could work on it, you could take the engine out. We did that. Daddy had a whole bunch of 85, 87, somewhere around in there, Chevy Silverados. He had tons of them when he was our age and younger, you know, growing up. But we had one, and we actually borrowed an engine hoist and pulled it in the garage and pulled the engine out of it, and I mean, replaced everything and put it back, I mean, down to the block. And you can do that with those cars.
And that was
that's awesome.
actually one of the vehicles, maybe the first truck. I think it is, in my memory, the first vehicle I ever drove was that truck. We had a hunt lease at the time in South Georgia in Oglethorpe, and it just had old back logging roads, and I remember he would let us drive it, and we were probably 11, maybe 12, 10, somewhere around there, and
love that
could
truck.
hardly see over the hood. But those are some of my best memories.
Yeah, I mean, and I mean, golly, they just go and go and go. This car will do it too, and you can work on it yourself. You don't need to go to a mechanic. There's no electronics, there's no computer. This thing has a carburetor, and that's where you can do a lot of basic work is right there.
That is the bad thing about the newer vehicles. Two bad things automatically that I can think of with newer vehicles is, one, you can dent the side of it with your fist. The metal is not super substantial, the material is not super substantial, like something like this, or even something like a truck from the 80s.
Off the factory line, they'd roll a GTO or a Camaro, whatever, with like a 454. If it was I know that's an engine number for Chevrolet. I don't know about Fords, but like a 454 would roll off the line for a mammal, take her kids to school to go pick the groceries up. I mean, and she could have been friggin' drag racing and taking a pink slip from her car after she got her groceries. I mean,
Yeah.
that's just what they did. That was just the thing back then. So when I drive this era missing. It may have a few mystery stains, and I know it's left over from the 70s. Fun fact, the last time I drove this car, I had to drive it by here. My heart belongs in the 70s and 80s.
Say is we just feel, I think we're just old school people, and it's okay if you're not old school. That's the cool thing, is everybody can be whichever way they want to be, and we would encourage that. But we like old stuff, old cars, old music, old clothes, whatever. So it's really neat in such a modern world to get to be a part of something that's kind of hard to see them back there in the back, but really pretty. I just love this car. I just love this car. I really love everything about it. So also talking about cars, for us, we're kind of big Toyota people. That's mostly what we've owned. I think as a kid we had a Honda, which I really liked, and then Dad's had maybe one like diesel. It was a Ford diesel, and to be honest, he said he would never have one again. We've mostly only had Toyotas and never really had much of a problem. So like her 4Runner, the one we've had since we've grown up, for the most part, have never had any issues until now, which is pretty, which is good. It's 20 years old, so you're going to expect to have issues now. And then our mom has a 2017 RAV4, and then I have a 2010 RAV4. And he has a Toyota truck, and we actually used to have, if I find a picture, I will insert it here. We used to have another 4Runner just like the one. We had two, yeah.
I love that thing.
It was awesome.
I wish we still had it.
Yeah. So, funny story, when I went to buy the car that I have now, we'll put a picture in here, I guess, so you can see it. I actually was set to buy a Toyota Highlander, and it was hybrid. It had a battery in it. So now I'm kind of really glad I didn't buy it, because if those tear up, they're expensive and things like that. But I went to buy it, went over with my dad one weekend, drove it, liked it, went back Monday and said, let me drive it one more time. I want to make sure I like it. I did, and I said, okay, give me the bill of sale. I'm going to the bank. I took it to the bank, and I had already been pre-approved for a loan, and then they said, well, I'm sorry, but as of 1 week ago, we changed our rules, and you can't buy this. And I was so mad. And, it was a used car, because that's all I could afford. And they weren't going to loan on something that was so old or so much mileage. So really frustrated. Next day, a guy I had been helping me get, he was looking for a car. He was helping me. He owns a dealership in town. I had a RAV4. He said, but he wanted me to drive the CRV, a Honda CRV. So got on the lot, drove it, didn't like it, drove the RAV4, and ended up thinking this is not bad, and ended up buying it. And it turned out way better, less mileage, cheaper. So turned out pretty good. And it's kind of interesting. Vehicles are a crazy thing. Sometimes you can end up with something brand new or something you exactly want, but a lot of the times you just kind of